Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of the Bold Take Podcast. I'm Austin Wader. You know this man next to me, the now man with the win on the board for his Chicago Bears, the Austin Hill. Now, welcome to the NFL episode here. Before we dive into NFL, go check out the college football episode. Came out last night. Man, oh man, what a weekend of college football we have this weekend. So many big matchups. A lot of news that came out over this past weekend that was interesting. So much so that we're going to start this with some college football news because the news cycle just doesn't seem to fit with it with our college football episodes, Austin. At least apparently not.
Yeah,
But
and I
let's
feel
start with
like
the
we do them at a good time.
yeah. You think Monday afternoon is when all the big news decides to break. I mean,
Yeah, you'd think it'd come out on Sunday. You think Sunday would be like prime time to get college football news out.
I think they're just like, you know what, NFL's here. Why don't we just wait till we'll just squeak this in Tuesday at 4 or 5 o'clock. Maybe no one will notice. But
Yeah.
let's get to the first big one. We're going to get to these quickly, then we'll dive into NFL. The big news, two things really quick. Both involve, ironically, the state of Oklahoma. We'll start with the head coaching news. Mike Gundy officially fired by Oklahoma State yesterday. It's a move that we were both expecting. I think it was just kind of a when is it going to happen thing. But Mike Gundy fired here. Now, this is intriguing for you because for those of you, ladies and gentlemen, if you've not watched a college football episode, someone's bet of the week this week is Oklahoma State plus 20 and a half against Baylor. So I guess
Yeah.
it's a twofold question. Thoughts on the firing, and then are you still confident in your bet of the week?
Look, I think it was inevitable with the current state of Oklahoma State. I don't think Mike Gundy's a bad coach. I actually really like Mike Gundy. And I think obviously with the rant 18 years ago about I'm a man, I'm 40, the way he sticks up for his players and constantly supports his players, I think is something that's awesome to see. So I think Gundy will land on his feet all right. And for Oklahoma State, it is just kind of a reset moment. Look, you've kind of got 21 years of Mike Gundy, some good, some bad, but we've kind of gotten into a lull of really bad. And we're now at the point of kind of the end, getting closer to the tail end of a coach's career when he's been coaching for 21 years. You think maybe he might not have that much in him. And, if he's going out and the team's going down, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing a reset. It does suck that, he's an alumni. He's been there for so long. But I don't think they're necessarily wrong in the decision. I maybe would have waited till the season's over and see how everything looks when the dust just settles. But I get it. Maybe you want to try and get stuff. I mean, we're coming into conference play now. There's always a chance to make something happen in that Big 12. So I get it. It's either, now or the end of the season. You can't really, once you get in the middle of conference play, you'd like to have some consistency. But with my bet of the week, I'm not super concerned. About it. If anything, maybe this will light a fire under the guys to
Hey,
play
there you
maybe
go.
a little bit better. Or maybe a change in coaching gets this team playing a little bit different and a little bit more unpredictable for Baylor's liking. So, yeah, I think they could still cover a 20.5 point spread. I was more sold on the coming back home and the disappointment last week. And maybe just the ability to come out there and have a better performance. And Baylor coming off the disappointing loss last week. I thought it could just be a perfect situation for them to kind of come in and keep a close game against Baylor. Even though, I don't necessarily expect them to win that game.
Yeah, well, to me, again, so from reports I heard, apparently Mike Gundy was allegedly asked by the university, like, your options are we fire you or you say you're resigning at the end of the year. And apparently he declined the resigning at the end of the year thing, so that ultimately led to him getting fired. I don't know how true that statement actually
Yeah.
is. But nonetheless, I mean, like, yeah, he's someone that has been a consistent thing around college football. I mean,
Yeah.
like you talk about, I'm a man, I'm 40. He's been there a long time, led Oklahoma State to the highest of highs, so many top five finishes. He's been so close to making that big end to the end of the season, whether it was a national championship in 2011 or getting to that college football playoff in 2021. I mean, they were so close so many times. And I mean, it's stuff that we hadn't seen in Oklahoma State well before. And who knows when we'll see it, because the problem with Oklahoma State, Austin, is Mike Gundy kind of pointed out during the whole fiasco before the Oregon game was NIL and money for the school. Not a lot invested right now, really, in a lot of sports at that university when it comes to NIL. So, truly, if they want to get back into the thick of it, into the fold of things, they've got to buy into this new era, kind of like Texas Tech, who we talked about in the college football episode. I think that's what it'll have to take if they truly want something to happen.
Yeah, before our next segment, just wanted to butt in and kind of note on that. Yeah, I agree. I think NIL is a big problem. I also think another huge problem is not playing Bedlam. The future of Bedlam was made pretty clear that it was going to be uncertain after Oklahoma's departure. Obviously, not scheduled this year. I don't think it's scheduled next year. We don't know
No.
when it's going to come back. I think that's a huge game. One, a huge rivalry game. Legacies in college football are built in rivalry games.
Yes.
Um, you think about the Red River rivalry. You think about Bedlam. You think about the history of Bedlam, and how incredible that game always is. And to not have that game, not have a big SEC opponent, in-state opponent on the schedule all year round. So what? Guys aren't going to get as much as they go if they go to play even in-state at Oklahoma, because they don't have the same NIL opportunities, and they don't have the opportunities to make a name for themselves and compete for a national championship because an easy big game could be top 25 game every couple of years is just not being made out of pure spite by the university, by Oklahoma State University. Just absolutely baffles me. I mean, that kills you. You think about the guy. Why do guys go and play in the Big Ten? Why do guys go play in the SEC? Those matchups, those crazy matchups. And when you can be a Big 12 school and you say, I guarantee you will play an Oklahoma SEC school every single year. I just don't know how you get how you lose that draw. It's certainly a game the fans want to see, and I think that's certainly an issue that's going to hurt this university for the next half decade until they get that game back on the schedule.
Yeah, who knows? Again, he talks about whenever that rivalry ended. I mean, it ended ugly whenever the way it ended with him. But I guess, like I said, the good thing for Mike Gundy is he went out a winner in the last
Yeah,
Bedlam. So that's something he can take with him no matter what. But speaking of Bedlam and speaking of the University of Oklahoma, the other news that happened on Tuesday night just unfortunate news for those of us who have become the biggest fanboys of John Mateer. I can't
yeah,
imagine and point fingers at anybody on this podcast for that. But the news, John Mateer suffered a broken bone in his hand that's going to require surgery. The good news out of all this is it looks like it's only going to be a month that he's going to be out. So we should be back for the end of the regular season. But Austin, word for word, when we talked about with that Auburn game this past weekend, we talked about Oklahoma's defense, awesome, but it felt like the entire offense played through John Mateer. And now
agreed.
you're not going to have John Mateer for at least a month, which includes matchups. Fortunately, you have a bye week this week, then Kent State. But then you play Texas, you play South Carolina, you play Ole Miss. He probably gets back either before the Tennessee game or after the Tennessee game, is what I would envision if that's how it's going to be. So that's a couple of big games in SEC play where the offense isn't the same. Now I believe Michael Hawkins Jr. is going to be the starter now for Oklahoma, who is a great athlete, can't do anything wrong, but can he do what John Mateer's been doing for this offense?
Yeah, look, obviously the massive negative. You lose a guy who was painting himself as a pretty clear Heisman, top two guy right now. Um, and he's out, and he's been pretty much the backbone of your entire offense. Haven't really found it going in the run game really at all, not even just with Jay Knott, just as a whole group, just have not been able to get it going. But look, I'll say the positives right away. You have Jaden Ott, a guy who was so awesome at Cal last year. Maybe you can get him going now, with a different opportunity. Two, you talked about him, Michael Hawkins Jr., probably the guy that we're going to see take reps for them in 2 weeks. And you've got the bye week to get him acclimated. But honestly, Michael Hawkins Jr., like you said, a great athlete. You're not losing anything as far as that dual threat ability. Throw accuracy has been an issue in the past. But look, with a lot of RPOs and a lot of option, he's not going to have to make a bunch of tough throws. He's just going to have to make the right decisions. I look, obviously it doesn't feel good to lose the guy that you're confident is your starter, but I think Michael Hawkins can be a guy that can step up and make this offense better. But we're going to come out and we're going to see what they can do. But I'd like to see them focus, at least coming into the game in 2 weeks, focus on Jade Nod a little bit more. Make Michael Hawkins' night as easy as possible.
Yeah, I agree. Focus on the run game. But like we talked about, with that defense, it feels like it gives them a chance in a lot of the games. That defense
Agreed.
gives them a chance. So, but that's it for college football stuff. We've talked about it. If you want to know more college football stuff, hey, guess what? There's a perfectly good college football episode of the Bold Take podcast for you to
Yes, sir.
watch or listen to. That's on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. So you can go there and watch more and learn more about college football from this past week. But mainly an NFL episode here, so let's get to it. Interesting week for the Shield this week, Austin. Obviously, some storylines we're going to get to talk into in just a second, but you know the tradition, starting with our biggest winners and biggest losers. Let's mix it up this week. What about your biggest loser from week 3 of the NFL season? A lot of good candidates here.
Man, I'm gonna say the Houston Texans falling to 0 and 3 in a division that really feels like it should have been theirs for the taking this year. Rookie quarterback in Tennessee, all kinds of up and down and uncertainty in Jacksonville, and Daniel Jones starting at quarterback for the Colts. And unfortunately, pretty much all of that, except for the rookie hiccups with the Titans, has been turned on its head.
Yeah.
Look, we're not really sure how we feel about the Jaguars, but they're 2-1 now. They win this game against the Texans, and with the Colts, Daniel Jones is playing great football. I do hate the discourse of he had to get out of New York. Like, yes, he is playing better outside of New York,
He
but we're
had good
forgetting that
he
he's
had good moments in New York. I think
yeah.
people forget that.
Agreed. He had good, like they didn't give him an extension for no reason. Him and Saquon Barkley took him on an awesome playoff run a few years ago. That was a blast to watch. And like, also, did we forget that last year, like he didn't do anything in the second half of the season when he left the New York Giants. So like, I'm not gonna say that it's a leave the New York Giants thing. I'm gonna say that it's a Shane Steichen thing. Shane Steichen's done a great job. But to get back on track with the Houston Texans, it's just all falling apart for them. This is a division that should have been theirs for the taking, or at least they should have been one of the top dogs in it. And now they're sitting tied dead last with no wins to start the season. That's tough. And really, I think it all comes back to the lack of effort to build an offensive line for CJ Stroud. You've got an awesome and incredible defense headed by one of the best defensive minds in the NFL and D'Amico Ryans, and you've got a great young quarterback who showed incredible promise in his first season. And then you just decided, what if we let him get hit as many times as possible? It seems to be a Cincinnati Bengals, uh, tail. What we've seen with Joe Burrow over the last few years, and the beatings that he's taken. Except at least we can say we've seen a little bit of an effort from the Bengals to
That I
try
was
and
about to
build an
say
offensive
they've
line.
tried. It just none of the pieces have worked for them.
But I mean, the Texans have gone as far as getting rid of the best offensive line piece they had this offseason, because I guess they didn't feel like paying the one guy who was keeping their quarterback clean. So I think it's really all fallen apart this season for the Houston Texans, which is unfortunate because they're a team I like, and I think they're built the right way, except for that offensive line.
Yeah. But the good news for them and for us as our Tennessee Titans AFC South preseason predictions, one of those two teams is getting a win this week for sure,
Yeah,
unless they tie. Oh
unless
man,
they
if they
tie.
tie, that'd be very unfortunate. This would be a clip
Just
that would probably be posted on TikTok, on our TikTok, if this
yeah,
does end up in a tie. So
yeah.
if
If
it is
they
on
end up in a
TikTok, hello
tie,
TikTok.
reaction here. I can't believe it's happened.
That's the clip I'll post. I'll just post
Yeah.
you. It's like thoughts on the Texans and Titans tie. I can't believe it happened. But
Yeah,
my,
exactly.
my biggest loser, a couple good candidates. To me, it's the Atlanta Falcons. Oh boy, I mean,
Bad game.
what a season it's been for them through just 3 weeks. You lose on a heartbreaker to the Tampa Bay. Then you come out and show some great resilience, win at Minnesota, shut them down. Everyone's like, okay, we're seeing the Falcons moving. Then get shut out 30-0. Not by, like Bills, right, and one of the top teams. You got blown out by the 0-2 Panthers. 30-0. And I will just say it, and it pains me to say it for our college football end of the year award specialist. Michael Penix did not look good in that game.
No,
It sucks for him, but
yeah,
I mean he just didn't.
yeah, rough game. And look, like you said, look, maybe there's promise in the Panthers. They are a young team, but look, I mean, we just got done talking about the Texans. What a year it's been for teams in the South Division who are supposed to be competing for a division title. Um, this is just not the game you needed to have against, I don't know, the team that should be tied for dead last with the New Orleans Saints in this division. It's just a bad situation to be in right now where it just feels like no matter the coaching change, no matter the player change, something about this organization will not allow them to actually compete for this division title. And meanwhile, we're talking about, well, I won't say anything just yet. We may talk about this team as biggest winner. But there's something awesome going on with one team 3 weeks in a row, seeing must watch, can't miss football right now.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that team in just a second because yeah, 3 straight weeks they have
Yeah,
been must-watch TV to say the least.
agreed.
But let's get to the biggest winners now. We talked about our biggest losers. What's your biggest winner from week 3 of the NFL?
Look, this is going to be a biased one. I'm going to say the Chicago Bears. Felt good to get on the board, and I think the Bears looked dominant. Look, last week we kind of saw some flashes of what this offense could do. We saw Ben Johnson really get creative with the play calling, and we saw that take another step. It feels like Ben Johnson feels a lot more comfortable in week 3 to trust Caleb Williams to cut it loose. I mean, we're talking about Romo Dunze breakout wide receiver one campaign. He has been incredible through
He
three
has
weeks.
looked good.
Love having Romo Dunze on my fantasy team. Drafted him last year out of the rookie draft. Awesome to have on my dynasty team. I'm starting him and Caleb Williams on the dynasty team this week in our league. So whoever's playing me this week, look out. We're playing the Raiders. I'm counting
Oh
on a
man,
big
I
week
hope
from
I
you.
hope it's not me. Shoot, I
Uh,
don't think it's me. I hope not.
no, I think we played week 1, right? So I don't think we play for a
Oh
little
yeah, I
bit.
think we did play week 1. I think you're right. I think we did.
But awesome to see this team cut loose. And then to finally see Dennis Allen's defense come alive. Tremaine
Yes.
Edwards had 2 awesome interceptions. Talk about early in the game, Tyreek Stevenson woke back up. Look, in his rookie year, he was phenomenal. His second season, he's awesome until we give up the Hail Mary at Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And then he disappears. And he hadn't shown up this season, but Jalen Johnson out this week. He comes out, rips that fumble away, and he just woke up. Tyreek Stevenson looks awesome. The defense was awesome in this game. They got after the Dallas Cowboys and they made something happen. This is what the Bears should have looked like the first 2 weeks of the season. I'm so glad to see them finally getting into a rhythm.
Hey, and like I talk about, there's been plenty of 0-2 teams that have turned their season around before to have great seasons. So, absolutely. For me, biggest winner, there's a couple of good options here. I'll tell you this, I'll get to one and then we're going to transition probably straight into it. I'm going to pick the Washington Commanders for a certain reason, and
Yeah.
we'll transition into that right now. Beating the Raiders 41-24. Austin, Marcus Mariota. We talked about it. You hinted at it specifically when I asked you last week. Everyone's like, Jane Daniels, Al, what's gonna happen? And word for word, I think out of your mouth, I don't know if it's word for word, but he said Marcus Mariota looks just as good running this offense as Jane Daniels does. And need I say more with the way this game worked out for him and the Commanders?
Yeah, I mean, look, again, they have such great chemistry, and the team has such great respect for both of these guys, and the way they're treated and the way they're respected. Again, we talked about it this offseason. He had opportunities to go and play in a New York Giants or in a Las Vegas Raiders and maybe be a temporary starter kind of guy until the day came. And he refused those offers. He wanted to come back to Washington. He wanted to spend time. If he's going to develop somebody, he wanted it to be Jane Daniels. He loved the chemistry they had, and he loved the team. He loved the offense. And look, it's just the respect they have for both of these guys. I was confident this team would not miss a beat with Marcus Mariota out there. That's the type of respect he commands. And not just from his team, but from the entire league. Marcus Mariota is a super respected guy as a player, as a person. This team was not going to miss a beat, and they did not. They shined, and that's the talent that we see in this team, and the belief in the chemistry in this team. It's got to get you excited when you know that you can play just as good with your backup quarterback out there.
Yeah, it really does. And that's for the Raiders. I mean, just a rough 2 weeks for them after the win over the Patriots. But like talk about now, like we talked with that after that game, I'm sure Dan Quinn and them were like, until I see Jane Daniels is 100%, why not? Why not? Because
Agreed.
if they had gone out there and it might have just blown up, they've been like, okay, if Jaden's like 90%, we're going. But with this, it's like, hey, until he's 100%, Mariota can keep things going for us. And especially with the run game helping too.
Yeah, agreed.
But this next one we're going to talk about here, boy, oh boy, I still don't know what this game was. A team through 2 weeks in the season, we both thought, man, is there anybody that can catch up with this team? Playing an 0-2 franchise that is always known for doing the worst stuff. And somehow, some way, the Cleveland Browns pull off the upset over the Green Bay Packers 13-10. Green Bay led this game 10-0 with 4 minutes left. And Cleveland won this in regulation, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
I still don't know how this happened. Obviously, I know how it happened, but I still don't believe it happened. But I mean, your thoughts on because through 2 weeks, Green Bay beat two playoff teams from last year, and we're like, man, can anybody beat them really this early in the season? Apparently, Joe Flacco and the Cleveland Browns can.
Yeah, this was an awesome surprise on my Sunday. Hadn't been paying attention to the scores too much. I was watching the games kind of casually that had come on throughout the day. Then I was over at my parents' house, threw on the second half of the Bears game. I had watched the first half at home, left at halftime, showed up at my parents' house, watching the second half. Game ends. I'm feeling good. They show the Cardinals 49ers bonus coverage, and pretty fun ending there in that game. And then they start showing the highlights and they show Green Bay versus Browns. And I'm like, of course, shield my eyes. I have to watch my bitter rivals, Green Bay Packers, beat down the Cleveland Browns. I don't want to see it. And then they flash that beautiful, beautiful final score up on the screen. And they show the walk-off field goal against the Green Bay Packers. And that made my Sunday. It made my weekend to see the Packers lose to the Cleveland. We might be 1-2, but we have not lost to the Cleveland Browns, and I will hold us to that.
That is something you can brag about. But something I brought up when I was talking about Green Bay, I said if their offense can ever get to that next level, there'll be a problem. The offense
Yeah,
has still not gotten to that next level. Now, of course, something that didn't help is how good Cleveland's defense is. Let's just say it like it is. That
agreed.
is the one thing that gives Cleveland a chance to earn some opponents with that defense. But still, this offense has got to be able to produce. And the offensive line's got to be able to do better for Jordan Love. I don't know. Have you seen the clip on Twitter of Myles Garrett mic'd up going against the Packers
No,
tackle? He
no.
gets by the Packers tackle, and you could just hear faintly in the edge of Myles Garrett's mic, the Packers tackle goes, Jordan, run! He just yells it out to him. He's just like, Jordan, run! And then Miles gets this out. I was like, did you hear that dude yelling, telling Jordan to run over there with me chasing? I mean, well, come on. I'm like, what are we doing here being an O line? I mean, at least he's alerting Jordan Love, hey, I screwed up. You better run.
Yeah, I mean that's good communication. It's better than just letting him sit there and get pancaked. But
uh,
yeah, that's bad when you have to have that built into the offensive line.
it really is. But let's go ahead and talk about this one. You mentioned this team when we were talking about NFC South teams. Tampa escapes again. 29-27, beating the Jets after nearly blowing this game. Credit to the Jets for coming back with Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. They almost beat
Yeah,
them. But Austin, Tampa's 3-0. Boy, has it been a sweat fest every single game for Tampa so far this year. But unlike the teams in their division, 3-0 is 3-0.
agreed. I think 3-0 is great. And look, this is the best like crunch time offense in football right now.
Agreed.
They don't make mistakes. They know what they're doing. They have such great communication. It's incredible. There was no Mike Evans on this last drive, and Chris Godwin, again, still out, has not made his season debut. And Baker Mayfield just goes out there and gets the job done. Again, he feels like the clutchest quarterback we've seen in a long time. It's almost like the Chiefs a couple of years ago. Don't leave them any time. If you're going to kill this team, you got to do it with no time on the clock because if this team has time and a chance, they're going to take it and they're going to get it. And not just get it, but get it in like easy range. You talk about the easy field
Yeah.
goals and the touchdowns. Man, it is awesome to watch Baker Mayfield just completely turn himself around. Again, we both liked him in Cleveland. The move to get rid of him was odd and peculiar. And then, Carolina didn't go so well, but he looked awesome in relief in LA for those few games. And just since he's been to Tampa Bay, he has just been so awesome to watch. It's been great football. I think playing it close, whatever. When you win games like that, you win games like that. I'd feel confident knowing that if we're not down multiple possessions in the last 2 minutes of a game, we're probably going to win this game. That's how good this offense is right now.
Yeah, it truly is. And again, like you talked about, it gives them a chance. Now, the big news you hinted at, Mike Evans is going to be out the next couple of weeks with another injury. It's a injury's kind of dealing with his groin and stuff he's been dealing with his whole career. The good news from what I heard though is Chris Godwin is expected to be back. So it's kind of
Yes.
like take out one, but you bring in another to pair up with a Emeka Abuka, who again, my goodness, does he keep on proving how good that pick was for Tampa Bay or what?
Yeah, and he's making them right. And look, when the pick was made, sure, we didn't know when Chris Godwin was going to be back, but they had Mike Evans, they had Jalen McMillan, who had an all right season, and Godwin was going to be back at some point. And you're wondering, maybe are we overcrowding the wide receiver room a little bit? Or are there going to be problems? And not only has he turned out to be awesome and really solidified himself as one of those, top three wide receivers, um, but it's been much needed. Like we said, the injury to Mike Evans now, and having Chris Godwin out for so long, and Jalen McMillan went on the IR to start the season.
Yeah,
He probably won't be back at all this season. So this ended up being a pick that was like, wow, this team really ended up needing this guy. I mean, had draft been on, right before opening kickoff on opening week, this would have been home run A plus pick. Yes, they need wide receiver, need wide receiver, need
yeah,
wide receiver. And it has worked out so well for them. And like you said, not just needing a wide receiver, but he is playing like a top tier wide receiver right now. He's easily looking like the best rookie wide receiver in the NFL right now.
yeah. I'm sure there's a couple teams in the draft that are probably like, how the heck did we let him go to Tampa? How
Right.
the heck did we let this happen, guys? But this next game we're talking about from the noon slate, playoff rematch, Eagles winning a thriller 33-26 over the Rams. For those of you who are wondering, yes, I had Rams plus 3.5. No, I do not want to talk about it. Okay. I do not want to talk about it at all. That's probably the most upset I have been from a betting loss in my entire life was Rams plus 3.5. But talking about the actual game, Rams, great start to the game, got up, I believe, 26-7 on the Eagles. And then all the talk, Austin, we discussed it, was like, Jalen Hurts can't throw the ball. Their passing offense sucks. And word for word, we're like, until they have to pass it, why would they? And guess what? Jalen Hurts proved when he needed to pass it, he was able to and make some big throws to lead the Eagles to this comeback. And also, special teams helped out a lot with some block kicks as well. But your thoughts on this potential probably matchup we're going to see again later this year?
Yeah, it was relieving. I was done hearing the Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is supposed to be the best quarterback. He's supposed to be one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. Done with that discourse. Glad that's over. Glad we settled it here in week three. Because that was like one. Did we forget what just happened last year? Did we forget? I don't know. Did anybody forget the huge throw that was made to put the Super Bowl on ice to
Does
Devontae
anybody
Smith for
forget a
like?
Super Bowl MVP trophy that he has? Does anybody just forget
Yeah.
about this?
So, one, the discourse should have been gone as it is. But I'm glad this game happened because, look, the run got stuffed. They looked like they were in trouble. And even the commentary team was kind of getting a little bit unbearable, talking about, Oh, well, they're going to have to put the game in the hands of Jalen Hurts, and I just don't know if they're comfortable doing that. What? What are we talking about? Jalen Hurts was this team's offense 2 years ago before Saquon Barkley got here. What? I just wonder how quickly we forget stuff like that if it's not, it feels like if it's not Patrick Mahomes. And even, sometimes it feels like we forget how good Patrick Mahomes can be. I know people tend to think maybe we talk about him too much, but sometimes I feel like he doesn't get enough credit.
Mhm.
It's just crazy how when you're not things aren't going your way, how quickly things turn around and we forget about what a guy's done. To hear that commentary, a guy who this calendar year won a Super Bowl MVP trophy, took it home, embarrassed the Kansas City Chiefs in their third straight Super Bowl, and we're like, I don't know if they feel comfortable trusting him to run to like take control and just air it out. What do you mean? He has an awesome receiving core and he's an incredible talent. It was a really great game for them. I was happy. It was good for my fantasy team. Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, Eagles defense and special teams needed that little extra boost on that second blocked field goal to take it back. I was wondering if there might be any bettors out there who had an all-time bad beat on that Jordan
Yeah.
Davis return block field goal. Turns out I'm sitting across from one right now.
Yeah, I had just the good thing that worked out for me was I had Jets plus 6.5 that saved me at the last second, so it kind of like canceled out. But I legit just sat there like this whenever I was like, no, 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 no. Someone tackle Jordan Davis. There's no way Jordan Davis, 300-pound Jordan Davis, outruns all you guys. And it was frustrating with that. But the Jets covered, so it canceled out, so I'm not as mad anymore. But when it happened first, this is family friendly.
Yeah.
We try to be, so I can't say word for word my thoughts on that whenever it happened. But let's get to some afternoon games now. And one in the AFC West, we talked about Chargers and Broncos. Chargers making a great comeback to win it 23-20. And now Austin, the way the AFC West is set up, Raiders, Chargers, Chiefs, we're going to get to in a second, all 1-2. And the Chargers way out in front at 3-0 with the Broncos. I talk about Broncos, Chiefs, Raiders, 2 games behind them. And man, oh man, Justin Herbert continues to look amazing this year.
Yeah. Yeah, they really figured it out. Harbaugh's second year, this team's got it rolling. They've really found their momentum. I think this is a great place and a great spot for them. Man, oh man, I could have foreseen this team being 3-0. But for the Kansas City Chiefs to really not be in the conversation right now, I'm not going to say out of it. Obviously, there's
Right.
uh, 3 games into the season. But just right now, for the margin to be even 2 games right now is unbelievable. So it's just been a great thing for them and awesome for them. In this game, I saw a clip of where Najee Harris unfortunately went down, something we may
Yeah.
talk about here in just a second. But I saw a clip where somebody was like, Justin Herbert just jumped over Najee Harris and then just threw the ball. Well, yeah, what's he supposed to do? Stop and say, "Hey, are
Supposed
you
to just be
okay?"
like, oh no, my teammate, and then get just
and
nailed from a
and then
defender.
get absolutely just smoked because that's what's going to happen. There's a huge gap because the protection that Najee Harris was supposed to have was obviously blown. So, unfortunate for Najee Harris, and I feel bad because he really kind of started to find his groove here right before he got injured, and that Achilles injury is unlike most likely going to keep him out for the rest of the year.
Yeah, going to keep him out the rest of the year. I mean, just unfortunate. Again, here's a guy who, like you talk about, one of the few guys in NFL history to be so consistent, 1,000-yard rusher every single year of his career until unfortunately this year, where
This year,
not
yeah.
gonna not gonna be able to happen for him. But a good win for the Chargers. They keep it up, looking at good at 3-0. Another team that's looking good at 3-0 is the Niners, who got the win over the Cardinals 16-15 here. Was it ugly? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, Niners atop this division at 3-0 with Mac Jones at QB, who, much like every other Niners player, got injured in the game, was basically hobbling around to end that game. But they're 3-0. But the big news came out on Monday. Nick Bosa, torn ACL, out for the rest of the year. And it's tough to think about for the Niners. They're 3-0, yes, but it's like George Kittle's on IR. Still don't know when Brock Purdy's coming back. Now Nick Bosa's out for the year. You don't know about your wide receiving core. You're winning, but it's like are we going to have enough guys to keep on winning the rest of the year?
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree with you. And look, it looks rough. And here's the thing. Look, I think it back to a couple of years ago, right after they went to the Super Bowl against Kansas City, where you had guys like Richard Sherman and all the whole team dropping like flies. I think Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt, and you were like, "Wow, what a fall off after making that Super Bowl run. We thought this team might compete." I guess the difference right now is that they're 3-0, but it almost feels like we're falling back into that same kind of loop every couple of years where the entire 49ers roster gets hurt. But this year they're still 3-0, and look, I have to give a lot of credit to Mac Jones. He's looked really good and really comfortable in this offense. I said it last week. I thought, or maybe 2 weeks ago, whenever we talked about Mac Jones taking over, I had said, you know, I thought that, he wasn't perfect and wasn't always great in New England, but he kind of shouldered a lot of blame really fast in his career. And then obviously with the changing of the guard at the top, with the new coaching staff, quarterbacks who haven't really proven themselves and have this whole change going on with the front office and the coaches, that usually means that we're going to see a reset of the quarterback position. And so he just kind of had to take that and eat it. But look, after spending a year as a backup at Jacksonville, he's really stepped up into a big spot here in San Francisco. And I really didn't expect any less. I didn't expect this team to look as good as it has with him at the helm, but I didn't expect him to struggle.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely fair. That's absolutely fair for them. 3-0 though, nonetheless, for them. Cardinals just suffered that bounce back. Got to be able to bounce back from it because they had their good moments. But unfortunately, the big thing for the Cardinals here, James Conner suffered a brutal injury. I don't know why all the Pittsburgh Steelers running backs had to suffer season-ending injuries this week. I
Yeah,
didn't.
this was a bad day to be a former Pittsburgh Steeler running back.
Yeah. Where's Fitzgerald Toussaint? I hope he's okay right
Yeah,
now. I hope he's
that's
okay. But
somebody check in on Jerome Bettis.
yes,
Is he functioning?
what is Willie Parker doing nowadays? I need to look up. But obviously hurts for the Cardinals because James Conner's been a bell cow for them since he's came over, and so we'll see what the future holds there. They have the young guy in Trey Benson, the rookie. We'll see what he can do running the ball. I imagine he was a big fantasy waiver wire guy picked up this Tuesday. I would imagine. So we'll
Yep.
see what he can do running the football for the Cardinals. They got a quick turnaround from that injury that we're going to get to in just a second here. But the last two games we're going to talk about really quick, Chiefs and Giants. And the only reason we're talking about this is the news that came out yesterday. The Giants turning over to Jaxson Dart as the full-time starter for the rest of the season. At least that is the plan. I don't want to say this screams we're in panic mode for Brian Daboll and them. It kind of feels like it. But at the same time, after watching Russell Wilson on Sunday Night Football, I'm also thankful they did the move because I don't think I could have watched another game of that.
Yeah, I think week one we were thinking, when are we going to get Jackson Dart going? Then week two, we saw a phenomenal game between them and the Cowboys where it was like, okay, Russell Wilson is really tapped in. Maybe he's kind of in his groove now and he's got the chemistry with the guys. But I want to be brutally honest. The Giants, if Jackson Dart plays in this game, the Giants win this game.
Mm-hmm.
Russell Wilson in
Yeah.
goal line situation,
Oh my gosh.
it was a pain to watch. I hate to say it. Look, I don't think Kansas City played a terrible game, but this was a close game. The Giants had opportunities to win. I think if there's a competent quarterback out there, the Giants beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs are 0-3. I honestly can't. I was flabbergasted. Look, the game was close. I was like, they have a chance, and Russell Wilson just could not finish the drives. It was a bad game. When you're judging that game, and look, again, like you said, probably panic mode. Daboll knows that this is, if they don't have a good year, this is probably it for him as the head coach of the New York Giants. So I think this is the right move. If I'm having to judge my career based on how this season goes, uh, yeah, after watching that game, I'm going to say we need to change the guard to
Yeah.
some degree because quarterback play was bad at the end of that game when they really needed their quarterback to make a play. Look, if I want a quarterback to make rookie mistakes in the red zone, I'm gonna go ahead and play the rookie, not the veteran.
Yeah, at least he'd be trying to score and not just throwing it away every single play like Russell Wilson was
Yeah.
in the red zone. But the other thing that was interesting, the only other thing that was interesting in this game to me, Tyrone Tracy's out, which means, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. A
It's
full Cam
here.
Scatterboo podcast is
It
officially back,
has
ladies and
happened.
gentlemen. Um, Before you ask, yes, I've already picked him up in fantasy. I would get him in this dynasty league that me and Austin are in, but a certain person that works for some party animals decided to have an auto draft take him, and he is now on my list. If you know that joke and that reference,
Yeah.
what I'm talking about there. But nonetheless, let's quit talking about this game. Let's talk about an actual good game that happened on Monday night. Lions taking down the Ravens 38-30. Safe to say this game lived up to the hype. Both these offenses were great, but storyline of this game, Lions defense, despite giving up the 30 points, sacking Lamar Jackson 7 times, a goal line stand that really was ultimately kind of the difference in the game, and forcing a fumble on Derrick Henry. So even though it's 38-30, Lions offense was great. The gutsiness from Dan Campbell to go for it on fourth down. I freaking love Dan Campbell because he does that no matter what. This Lions defense deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah. It's been so fun to see. I get Ben Johnson and I get to feel so much happier, and the Lions still get to be fun to watch at football. They still get to be the same brand. And that's fun for football to see Dan Campbell, to see us be like, yeah, Dan Campbell was part of that success. It wasn't just the coordinators, it was the Dan Campbell philosophy that worked, not just great coordinators. Has been fun to see. I think that's fun for football to have a guy like Dan Campbell who is successful. He's not just a funny jokester who has a fun strategy even though they don't win. He gets the job done. So that's really awesome for football. But yeah, I think the big thing for me is the second time in 3 weeks that Derrick Henry has had a majorly costly fumble in the
Mm-hmm.
fourth quarter. And it makes you wonder what he's doing different. This is a guy who, when I think about Derrick Henry, I think about a guy who never coughs the
What
ball.
have they done to my king in
I know
Baltimore? What have they done to him?
the two of the last 3 weeks, huge fumbles. And look, sure, they beat Cleveland last week, but Derrick Henry had nothing to say about it.
And he
26
fumbled in
points.
that game too. It didn't matter, but he fumbled in that game too.
So it's just been kind of a nightmare start for Derrick Henry. He's got to get back to the basics. It sounds like just holding on to the football
Two hands
because
on that football. Two hands.
I like trusting Derrick Henry at the end of games to be able to run me the football too. But if the ball's getting punched out, we might be seeing some more Justice Hill reps at the end of these games.
Yeah, and I think we might see that with how close this matchup might be on Sunday between two very desperate football teams. And on that note, let's get to these week 4 game picks, and let's start with tomorrow night, Thursday night football preview here. 2-1 Seahawks, 2-1 Arizona Cardinals. Very intriguing matchup here in the desert. Obviously, Seattle really good 2 weeks after that loss in week 1. They had the great win against the Steelers, dominated the Saints at home. Sam Darnold and the offense look like they're getting more and more comfortable. That defense under Mike McDonald looks great. Then you got the Cardinals, 2 weeks where they were getting wins, even though they were close, losing last week. But the big thing, what's it going to be like with James Conner now not being running back one? What's Trey Benson going to be able to do? That's kind of my thoughts going into. What's your thoughts, and who do you got winning this one on Thursday night?
Yeah, I'm with you. What's going to happen with this Cardinals team? I think we're finding a Seahawks team that's kind of finding its footing right now. Um, but the Cardinals are kind of on the opposite end, and now with losing James Conner, I think this team's in a kind of a tough position. I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks to win this game. My big thing right now is I think we talked about it. The Cardinals are winning, and even I said, they don't ask you how you want them.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of philosophy might be starting to catch up with this team. I don't think they're going to have a slide and be bad, but I think we're going to see a couple weeks here where this team is going to have a rude awakening. They haven't been doing enough to win games, and they've been winning games, and now they're going to play a couple teams here where if they don't do enough to win the game, they're not going to win the game. And so I think that's what we're going to see here is another game where it's like, we're this close, but we
Mhm.
just didn't do enough, and Seattle's going to make the big play.
I, you know, I really want to trust the Cardinals here. Again, I picked them to go to the playoffs in this. I also did that with the expectation that James Conner was going to be able to help them with running the football. It's not
Yeah.
that I doubt Trey Benson. I just want to see what he looks like and what the Cardinals
You don't
offense looks
know.
like with him as the main back in the game before I truly trust him. So I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to pick the Seahawks to win this game. Like talk about, they look good right now. They look like they're picking things up, and everything looks like they're going well for them. Trying to get 3 in a row here. Let's move to Sunday. Got a couple of 2-1 matchup right here. Minnesota. What a game they had on Sunday. Isaiah Rodgers having probably the greatest game for a defensive player ever. Taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. I unfortunately am going to have to wake up and watch this at 8 a.m. on Sunday. Not the time I usually want to get up on Sunday. But nonetheless, I don't got a choice here. I got to watch my Steelers play. Taking on the Vikings in Ireland here. Two teams that are 2-1. Be honest with you, Steelers, I don't know how they're 2-1. I genuinely don't know. This is a team that should be 0-3. But nonetheless, it's two teams that are trying to pick up win number 3 on the year. Who do you got win this one in Ireland?
Look, I thought it was fun to see Carson Wentz have that first really good drive to start the game, and he did not play terrible for the Vikings. Could JJ McCarthy be the cure to every kind of forgotten about quarterback's career? Guys who have just were supposed to be these huge hits and maybe had some big moments in their career, but kind of fell by the wayside. Sign on the team that's got JJ McCarthy, let him miss some time, and you become the starter, and you will reinvent your entire career. That could be the path that we're seeing right now. That could be the new strategy
Fair.
for some of these quarterbacks. Um, but man, I just don't know about Carson Wentz versus the Steelers secondary. I think Jalen Ramsey's had a really good year, and I think Jalen Ramsey could make Carson Wentz's night really, really bad. I'm going to take the Steelers. I'm going to trust the Steelers defense, even though I hate Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to trust the Steelers defense to be able to maintain and contain Carson Wentz a little bit better than the Vikings are going to be able to contain Aaron Rodgers and that Steelers offense.
Hey, you are more faithful than me because I don't really trust the Steelers defense at all. I feel like Carson Wentz might have a field day, and it'll
They
be
got to
like,
start earning that money sometime, right?
yeah, 147 million. They got to start earning it at some point. Most expensive defense in football. Here's your layup: a guy who's been starting his second game with the Vikings. Please, I don't even need to say what my pick is. Y'all know. Just don't make me be rageful at like 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Just don't do it to me. Just don't
Great
do
way
it
to
to
start
me.
the week.
Yeah, don't do it to me. Let's get to one more game in the noon slate, probably the biggest game of the day, at least in my opinion. 3-0 Eagles, 3-0 Buccaneers. Man, oh man, two of the top teams in the NFC going head to head. If we know anything, probably playing now for Tampa, this will probably be a close one-score game coming down to the wire with their offense going down the field. Nonetheless, 2-3-0 teams. Potentially could see them meeting in the playoffs again. Eagles, Buccaneers, and Tampa. Who do you got?
I see this as a close game. I see this as a good game. But I think at the end of the game, Baker gets that 2 minute drive and he meets the first defense this season that's able to stuff that 2 minute drill. And this is going to be a wake up call for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Hey, we can't live and die by the 2 minute drill at the end of the game. I think close, fun, but just like the Eagles defense did with their great resistance against the Rams this past week, I think we're going to see a very similar outcome. Maybe not a blocked field goal at the end of the game, but just they'll do enough to stop this crazy 2 minute drill that they've got going on right now. And that'll get the Buccaneers like, hey, we've played every game close. We finally lose one. Now we've got to adapt and we've got to come out here and really win some games.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing how this matchup goes. I think these are two really talented teams. But when in doubt, I'm just going to go with the team that keeps on finding a way to win the close games here. I'm going to roll with Tampa at home here.
That's fair.
Again, not that I don't trust the Eagle, but I'm curious. There's the rumors about Desmond Watson being signed by the team to stop the tush push. That's something I genuinely look forward to watching in this game.
Yeah,
Seeing is it actually going to work for them? I don't really know.
that would
But
be
I'm going to pick Tampa
awesome.
Bay mainly because I trust them late in the game. If I need to get a drive late in the game, I'm going to trust them more just because, well, that's what every single game's been like up to this point. Next game, let's get to the afternoon. 3-0 Colts, 2-1 Rams. Who had this being a matchup with a 3-0
Yeah.
team and it not being the Rams in the matchup? Can Indiana Jones keep his magic going, Austin? Let's just make it really quick here. Can Indiana Jones keep his magic going against the Rams?
I don't think Daniel Jones will play bad. I think he looks really good in this offense. But I think the Rams are a really good team. It's really unfortunate that a team had to lose their game last week because both teams played really well. I think they're going to come out with a passion, and I really like this defense's chances to make some big plays. And Matthew Stafford and that Devontae Adams connection looks really, really good right now. I'm going to take the Rams in this one.
Yeah, I want to trust in Indiana Jones and the quest for a winning season. Um, but no, I'm going to trust in that Rams defense. If the Colts win this one, I might just put them in the Super Bowl contender category because if they're able to
Yeah.
beat the Rams on the road, it's like, come on here. So I agree with you. I'm going to trust the Rams defense. Plus, I just think overall as a whole, better team, better offense execution, more talent. I'll pick the Rams to win that. One more game in the afternoon is the game that is the game of the week, but is it really the game of the week? Ravens and Chiefs afternoon slate. One of these two Super Bowl contenders is going to be looking at 1-3 to start their season. And very few teams that start 1-3 rarely can make a turnaround and get as successful as these two teams have been. So, nonetheless, Ravens, Chiefs, and Kansas City, which team is going to get that second win and which one's going to fall to 1-3, Austin?
Look, I'm going to pick the team that I think has played better football and looked better so far this season. I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens in this one. Maybe a win gets the Chiefs a little bit more refocused and re-energized. But look, I just think the receiving core is in a bad place right now. They're not making plays. And again, I stand by my statement. I think a lot of other quarterbacks could have won that game for the New York Giants last week. Um, Russell Wilson didn't make the plays that were there to be made. I think there were a lot of mistakes made by the Kansas City defense in this one. That game should not have been that close, and yet it was. So I like the Ravens to win this game and get themselves back on track, and Kansas City falls to 1-3. Don't think it's over for them if they fall to 1-3. You never know what this team's going to do, and even if they sneak in as a wild card, they're going to be something else to deal with. But I just don't think it's in the cards for Kansas City to get it done.
Yeah, I was coming on here 100% ready to agree with you and pick the Ravens in this game. Thought they looked better, even though it was in Kansas City. I was going to roll with it. Then I saw the report that Xavier Worthy was a full participant in practice today for the Chiefs,
That'll help.
putting him on pace to play. I don't know if he will play, but that kind of gives me confidence he is. And if he is, it's a different Chiefs defense. Hopefully they just
Agreed.
or offense. They hopefully the crossing patterns does not lead to someone suffering a serious injury this time. If Xavier Worthy
Yeah.
plays, which I think he's going to be on here, I think that helps the Chiefs be able to get this one at home. So I'm going to pick the Chiefs. Sunday Night Football, Austin, it's the matchup we looked forward to since the trade was announced. Packers, Micah Parsons heading to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. Look, let's just be frank here. Do we even need to say what storyline is? We just said it within one
Yeah.
sentence. We know what it's going to be for this game in Dallas. So the question is, I think I know who you got in this game, but twofer, who do you got, and how many sacks does Micah Parsons get on Sunday night?
I'm gonna save us all some breath. The Packers are gonna win this game easy. It won't be a question. Sorry, Cowboys are bad. Watch the game last week. Uh, and how many sacks is Micah Parsons gonna get? My goodness, Dak Prescott couldn't escape the Bears defensive line. Micah Parsons, 6 sacks, I must say. 6 sacks.
6 sacks himself. Yeah, I'll be really quick. I got the Packers as well. Sacks for Micah Parsons. I'll say 5. I'll go one. I'll go
One
one
below.
below you for 5. It might be like 10 total. It might be like Oklahoma and Auburn, but Dak and just be for Dak and
Yeah.
them. It's gonna be a rough night, I imagine. Now the only reason I am even discussing these Monday Night Football games is for me to be able to post on TikTok. I'll just be frank with you. This is the only reason we're discussing this on here. Monday Night Football, 2 games. Let's just get this one out of the way. 0-3 Jets, 0-3 Dolphins. Who's getting their first win? Both teams are rough. Who gets their first win?
I'm taking the Jets. I think while they're 0-3 and they haven't quite hit the highs that they've expected, they're right there in a lot of these games, and they've played pretty good. I'm going to take the Jets to win this game. Look, the Dolphins offense will come out. Tyreek Hill will get me as 15 to 20 fantasy points. And then guess what? They're going to play bad. and they're going to find a way to lose the game, and the Jets are going to win with Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. I think that's probably don't even play the game. That can just be the storyline that we use, and we'll just take that into next week because
Yeah.
that's exactly what the script writers have written.
Okay. I was about to say, I was just about to ask. I believe is Justin Fields playing this
Ooh,
week? I didn't know if he had cleared concussion protocol officially or not.
I do not know.
Uh,
That's
well,
a
I'm
great
going to go with
question.
it that even if it's Tyrod Taylor or Justin Fields, whoever it is, I'm going to pick the Jets as well. So it didn't really matter to me, but I was just genuinely curious because I have not heard anything, and it's Wednesday night, so I was actually genuinely curious. Here you go, Austin. Here's the question I have: we both have the Jets winning. Is this Mike McDaniel's last game in Miami if they lose here?
I think if they lose this game to the 0-3 Jets, Mike McDaniels, yeah, we're probably going to see a phone call. And what they fall to 0
0 and 4.
0-3 in conference or division? Will they
Yeah,
be
0 and
0-3 in
3.
division?
It
So
just
yeah, that basically because at least I guess if you win this game, you beat a team you're supposed to beat,
right,
um, and you're not entirely out of the divisional picture because everybody could lose two games in division.
right.
Uh, but yeah, I think three losses in division, that's half of your division games lost. Yeah, there's not really a way to save yourself there. There's pretty much almost no playoff hope at that point. Yeah, I think this is probably McDaniel's last game.
Yeah, if they lose, I 100% agree with you. It'd be his last game. I don't even know if they'd wait till Monday morning. It might be like one of those midnight breaking news. Mike McDaniel's fired. If
Yeah,
they lose to the Jets, I could see it like that. Other
agreed.
one, look, it's 2-1 Cincinnati. They're 2-1, but we all saw what happened last week. Taking on the Denver Broncos in Mile High. Broncos just looking for some wins. Had two rough games so far this year. Had the one win. Now the question is, can they get back on track? Get to 500 to try to somewhat keep up with the Chargers in this AFC West. Bengals, Broncos, who you got?
Look, we saw a defense that I don't think is nearly as talented as Denver's have a field day against Cincinnati last week. I'm not saying give up on Jake Browning. I saw the numbers. When he came in relief for Joe Burrow a year or two ago, I can't exactly remember. I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Um, he led the NFL from the top from his first game till the end of the season in completion percentage at like 60% or something.
right.
So like he's capable and he can help run the offense, and they almost made the playoffs that year with him at quarterback. So I'm not saying give up on Jake Browning and give up on the Cincinnati Bengals, but look, you had a bad week. I think you're playing a better defense this week, a team hungry for a win, a team that's at least right now with no JJ McCarthy on the Vikings, I think a team that looks a lot better, that is a lot better than the Vikings in Denver. So I like the Broncos to win this game and have a big day on defense.
Yeah, could not agree more. Jake Browning, the big thing with him, he couldn't hang on to a football to save his life last week against Minnesota. And you're playing a much more, I guess I don't want to say more better, but I guess you could say just not nearly as aggressive of a defense as the Minnesota Vikings were. So I think that gives them a little bit more of a chance. But absolutely, Broncos still have an elite defense. I'm not picking against that. I'm going to pick the Broncos to win this game.
Agreed.
Now, last segment here. Let's get to that bet of the week, Austin. Bears money line. Perfect. Bengals Vikings over. Got it done. 2-0 for y'all last week. What do you got as your bet of the week for week 4 of the NFL?
Well, just so we know, Austin Hill guarantees this season on Bet of the Week 2-0. Georgia Tech money line, Chicago Bears money
Yeah, so
line.
what money line play do you got pretty much? Just to say.
I won't be putting a guarantee on the line. I also won't be putting money line on the line, but I do like this one. It's borderline guarantee. But I'm not gonna throw around guarantee willy nilly or it loses all its meaning. But I'm gonna take Eagles Buccaneers over 43.5 in this game.
There we go.
After the way we saw the passing offense light up for Philadelphia last week, I think we see a much more confident offense next week. And obviously, Tampa Bay's had a fun, exciting offense that I don't think we see slow down too much in this one. I think 43.5, probably easy money.
I would agree. I will probably be placing that bet on Sunday. Surely it'll be a bad beat, just like Rams plus 3.5.
Yeah.
For my bet of the week, look, let's just be pure and simple. We already said our predictions for Sunday Night Football. We already know how it's going to go, so why not? Give me Packers minus 6.5. Right now it's at 6.5. Even if it goes to 7.5 before the game, take it. They're going to win this game by 2 possessions. Pretty much.
Agreed.
They're going to win it by 2 possessions. So Packers minus 6.5 right now. Might go to 7.5 before the game. That is my bet of the week. You heard Austin's over 43.5. That is going to do it for our bet of the week section. And that is going to do it for this episode of the Bold Take Podcast. Again, get ready for college football with the episode that's already been out. Go give it a listen. So many big games this weekend. Alabama, Georgia, Oregon, Penn State. I'm looking forward to the football this weekend. So I'm going to shut up so that way when this episode ends, you're closer to football happening over the weekend. That's Austin Hill. I'm Austin Wader. We want to thank you for watching.